Hi, I'm Parcel. I'm the CFO of ZeroToInfinity.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm the social media coordinator of ZeroToInfinity.
Hi, I'm Ambika Siddhabatula. I'm the founder and CEO of Zero2Infinity.
Hi, I'm Lena Muhammad, and I'm the outreach chair of ZeroToInfinity.
And with us today, we have a really special guest today. We have Ambika, and no, I'm kidding. We have Shravan Subramanian, a cherished member of the ZeroToInfinity community, and he continues to encompass the values of our organization and strives to spread good values in our community and around him. As a current junior, currently enrolled at NYT, and as a biology major, he's relentlessly worked to achieve academic excellence by finishing up his bachelor's in biology. In addition to his academic side, Shravan is heavily engaged in camps and clubs and organizations within the NYT campus. He is also the president of the Alpha Theta chapter of Delta Epsilon Psi fraternity. It is here where Shravan participates in service ventures across the greater New York area and looks to embody the best version of himself as a leader. He is greatly appreciative of ZeroToInfinity and all that they do regarding mental health and wellness. Shravan is the definition of a hardworking and determined individual. We here at ZeroToInfinity are overjoyed with all of his accomplishments and really look forward to what he'll do in the future.
How old are you, my guy?
21.
How long is your resume?
Not much.
It is probably so
Can you fit that
long.
in 2 pages, or
Yeah, it's fine. It gets into one.
you gotta fix up the margins a little bit?
Yeah.
So no, we'll get right into it. And first thing we were wondering was,
So the first question we actually had was, what made you realize that you wanted to go into law and not medicine?
So medicine is still like the passion. I still love medicine. Like I still appreciate medicine. So I mean, just to rewind it a little bit. So I went to a magnet school in New Jersey, in Woodbridge Academy. So that's when I started with medicine. So I applied for that school in 8th grade, got in, and like instead of like normal electives, which you would have like medical based electives. So that's when I was like really introduced to the field. And like 8th grade, you're like seeing all this medical stuff. You're going, you're like, oh, like it's good and stuff like that. But then you keep doing it after a while. You're just like, well, this is all you see for like literally the next 8 years. Because after that, I went to the STO program. That's all you see. So I haven't really like seen anything outside of medicine per se. So I really just wanted to like explore other avenues and stuff. So in high school as well, like I founded the JSA club in there, which is the Junior State of America. And there was like how to be like a civic member of the community and like debate and stuff. And I like really enjoyed that. Like I went to like first debate, won the first debate when I went into it. So it was pretty impressive. Like I really enjoyed doing that type of stuff. But I kind of left it in like the back burner because like, hey, like I'm doing medicine, I'm gonna become a doctor. So I just left all that stuff in the past. But once I like started coming here, and then like when near COVID hit, that's when like I started rethinking everything. I was like, hey, like is this what I wanted to do and everything? And that's when I started looking into other things, and that's when I started like going back into like the law and like the civic side of things. That's where it led to. So yeah, that's the background.
So was there any particular moment at NYIT that was like, wow, I need to go into law?
At NYT, I would say like first year was fine. Like first year is like reminiscent of like what you did in high school. Like didn't really think much about it. Hey, but like second year when you get into it, when you get into like the hardcore medical stuff, you're just like, well, is this what I see myself doing for like the next 5-6 years? Mm-hmm. So that's when like I started having like those little like doubts, but like I just kept disregarding it. You know, I decided like, why would you switch? Like, what is the need? Like, don't even think. But then like it kept on like that urge or like doubt. Like, hey, like there's this thing, like there's this other field that you could do that also still you could implement medicine in, but can like use like your strong suits of like writing and like engaging with others and doing more like the stuff that you're personally stronger at than you see yourself in the field of medicine. So that's like the moment like during COVID where I realized like maybe I should like take the step out and like actually just go for it.
so besides COVID, like do you think there were any like specific moments where you really just sat back and like reflected, or like maybe there's some sort of a moment in your BSDO career at NYT where you're like, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe there's something that's a better fit for me?
I mean, like school-wise, like the classwork, like it's just like every other class. It's just like the workload, everything's fine. Like I was still able to do well, like even in my major right now, like I'm doing fine. Everything's great with that. It's just that like inkling of like, oh, like maybe there's something else that you would do better at, that I would say, because I would just see myself like, hey, like if I went into becoming a doctor, I wouldn't see myself more than just somebody in like the middle of the pack, just there, just making it out. But I felt like if I went into like something like law, I really felt like I had the trust in myself that I can be like up there and like compete and up there, and that's what really like drove me, because I have like that competitive like nature of like trying to always like be like a top. So then I was like, I think I should try and go there, because I think I'm more like passionate about getting to the top in that rather than medicine. from what I saw. So I think that's like the moment I kind of realized.
Were you scared about that switch?
It's scary because it's like literally like 8 years you're doing medicine.
Yeah.
All you're doing is medicine. All you really know is medicine. So you're just like, well, you're really going. It's still scary now. Like it's like, oh, like you still haven't done much with the law. Like you have like an internship. You're doing some little stuff like here and there, but you don't really have much. So it is scary, but like you just have to trust in yourself. Like if I took the leap, like I just had to fully go and I can't back out at that point anymore. So it's not bad. It's going.
We're proud of you for that.
Appreciate
It's
it.
amazing.
So who was the first person you told, and like, did you get the support that you needed? Because I mean, obviously, that's like a big decision.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like for a good month or two, like I just kept going back and forth. But, like you know how like the Brown community is like telling
Yeah,
your
of
parents
course.
something like that, like it's pretty heavy for them. So the first people that I told was like my parents, because I wanted to let them know first, and like without like any of my friends knowing or like influencing, I would just say, hey, like just gonna be straight up with my parents, just talk to them and see how it is. So when I went to them and talked to them, obviously they were like upset. They were like, oh, because to them like this came out of nowhere, because I don't like usually like I don't really like vocalize like that type of issues. I usually just keep it to myself, talk to my friends if anything about it, and just keep moving on. So they had no clue that I was even like disinterested or like had like a little bit of doubt within medicine. So they were just like pretty shocked at first. So obviously they weren't that supportive. They thought I didn't have a plan. They just thought like, oh, like maybe you just don't want to take the MCAT or something like that. Like they weren't really sure what was going on. So it took a while like to explain to them like, hey, this is what it is and stuff like that. And then they kind of got in and slowly get into it. But the other people that I talked to was like definitely talked to a lot of my brothers within the fraternity. I told my big first, Calvin. He was pretty supportive, great. They were all like helped me. They were like, hey, like immediately they're like, hey, we'll give you like connects or people that you can talk to who are currently in law school, so you can get a vibe for how it is and see if this is what you really want. And like, if we need anything, like they were just like, yo, don't hesitate to ask. So like I had a pretty good support system going into it, so it was pretty easy. At least like talking to people and seeing how it was.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good.
Were you surprised at all by the reaction that you got from your parents, or was it something that?
I
you
mean, no,
expected?
I knew that was the reaction that was gonna
Yeah.
happen, like,
Yeah.
because they've been like, because they would like tell like their friend, like you know how it is, like,
Right.
oh, like, oh, look, my son's gonna be a doctor and all that, so it's like,
Right.
wow, like it's a lot of, I feel bad, like for them, it's like, oh, like it's like a switch, and then they're like, oh, like is he gonna, people you don't know, aunties, like, they always talk, always the talk, so they were just worried on that sense. So I knew they were gonna be worried, but I was like, hey, like, but they were always have been supportive of what I wanted to do,
That's good.
like even like coming to the school, like doing all, like they've never like forced, like even medicine, they never like forced it upon me. It's just something I decided and everything. So whenever I decide, like they're usually supportive. They just want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm just like doing it right. I'm not like keep on like switching and stuff like that. That's what their main thing was. But they're very supportive about my parents.
Awesome. That's awesome.
What do you have to say to the schools that encourage students to commit to one career path very early on in their education?
I mean, like for medicine, like it feels like nice when you first think about, like, hey, like I'm guaranteed a spot in like medical school. Like for like stuff like that, it is a good thing. Like for the majority of the people, it does help. Like especially now in the medical climate, like I still like all my brothers and their friends, they're still applying to medical school and stuff. So I still know like how the field works, but it is very like suffocating in a sense. Like your life is technically set for like the next 7 years. Like what if something comes, like I never thought I would do these. I like be a part of like leadership, like heavy, like I thought so, and like see all like the civic sides and stuff like that. So I never really expected that. So like if something like that happened to other people and they're like stuck in the program or whatever, like they won't really even think about looking at anything else because they're already in the program. Like their life is basically straight. So it kind of deters people from, like I say, like looking out and looking into like other things. But it does give you like the guarantee of like getting into med school. So it's like a given like take. So it's like it has its positives and has its negatives with it.
Right.
Do you think that if you chose this, like if you realized that you wanted to do law, you would have like changed something earlier? Like you wouldn't have come to NYT or changed like something at NYT?
I mean, yeah, like I would have definitely like just went 100% with law, but like honestly, like how everything really worked out, it's just kind of crazy how like it worked out, because like even like going through my high school, like it gave me all the chance to graduate within 3 years. So that was like it benefited in that sense, and being in the program, like taking all the credits also helped me. So like, and I still like appreciate having a background in medicine. Like honestly, it helps a lot. Like the other day, like in my internship, so it's basically like the Innocence Project in a sense. Like so like you help like wrongfully convicted using DNA evidence and stuff like that. So like one of like the people, like they gave like the medical reports, and like it like was talking about like the hymen and stuff like that, and like my other like colleagues, like they weren't really able to understand it, but like since I have the background in medicine, like I was able to read it like thoroughly, I'm full understanding, be able to explain it. So like that helps. Like it's different from what other people, it gives me a different perspective on the law, which I think is very useful and different. It makes me like unique in perspective compared to how everybody else is. So I think it all worked out.
Wait, so we can't brush over your internship. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so honestly, like, I mean, you know, like, you're little, Ishita, she's the one who blessed me with it. Like, once I started, like, Ambika was also really helpful with, like, she was very supportive, like, helped me immediately get with that. So, yeah, it's called the Jeffrey Deskovich Foundation. It's very similar to the Innocence Project, like I mentioned. So, like, I basically, like, my job, per se, is just, like, so I get the letters from the convicted people. So, like, they actually send their letters in from jail, and I, like, read it, and my job is basically just to like see if they actually have like a valid argument of they were actually wrongfully convicted, or if they're just trying to get off on like technicalities, stuff like that. There's DNA evidence. We would try to look into some of my questionnaires, try to get more information out of it, and then like in the end, like if those cases go through, hopefully like the lawyer, Jeff, he would come help them and get them convicted out of it. So it's pretty cool, but it's like a lot. Like it's pretty cool like seeing like actually like the convicted people like writing letters, like explaining their case. There's a lot of different cases. There's murder cases, rape cases, a lot of different cases that you see. So it's like criminal justice side. Like I'm pretty open to whatever side of law I would do. So it's like I'm just wanting to experience stuff first. So I'm just like, okay, so this is pretty cool. Like at least I get to use my medical background with it too. So I think it's pretty cool. Like I enjoy the opportunity.
So like obviously like your work has probably helped. Like your and your colleagues' work has helped like people like get exonerated, right, for stuff they didn't do. Have you ever like met someone that you've helped exonerate over?
I mean, I just recently started, so
okay.
I haven't like gotten that far into the process yet. But recently, like I did go to the Bronx Supreme Court, and I saw one of the people that the lawyer Jeff that is helping. His name is Andre Brown. So they were trying to overturn his case. So I saw it like happen. Like I went to court, saw the proceedings and everything, saw like a cross-examination and everything. And it's pretty cool. Like I think it's like it's pretty similar to how it is on TV, maybe just a little bit slower. Like everything's slowed down. It's not as dramatic, but it's still pretty much the same thing. So like hopefully in the future I'll see like maybe one of my cases that I proved like will get exonerated.
God willing.
Yeah. After working in an internship like this, do you feel that this is the place that you belong, or you felt that like you're yourself in
yeah, like I'm way more comfortable in what I'm doing now than I was like within the program. Like because even like research and like lab work, that didn't really like entice me. Like that's the type of research that you do in medicine, right? Like that didn't really entice me. But like this is like hands-on work. You get to meet people, talk to people, and it's always something like different. It's always like very interesting, and you always like the communication. Like we talk to our colleagues, like, hey, what's your opinion on this? Like, do you think that he's lying? Like, or do you think there's more evidence? Like, how would you? So like I'm like slowly getting into it with like all the like legal terms and stuff like that. So I'm still learning, but like the field is fine. I'm just like still trying to figure out like what I would do in law still, because I'm keeping myself open now, because before it was very structured. So definitely want to just keep myself an open mind, see whatever like fits the bar, and then go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so hey, I actually have a question about the foundation. So like, how'd you like get to know about this? Like foundation, yeah.
So Ambika is the one that put me in connect with her little Ishita. So she's been working there for like a minute.
Wait, we have a call coming in. Wait, this conversation. Okay. Oh my god, it's Malaika, our director of marketing. What are you doing calling in?
Those are some really great watermelons you just showed me.
Thanks. So this is Shravan. Say hi to Shravan.
Hello.
Hi, Shravan. I'm sorry you couldn't be there in person.
All good. You're here now.
How's the interview going so far?
It's going. They're grilling me already.
All right, I have the most important question for you.
Okay.
None of the other questions are as relevant as this
Sure.
one.
Full attention.
If you could be a tree,
Okay.
what tree would you be?
So recently I had to study for my philosophy midterm. So I found out about the Bodhi tree. So I think that's the tree. That's the tree that the Buddha discovered enlightenment. So hopefully I'm enlightened now and found my true purpose.
That'd be a cool tattoo though, like.
With the Bodhi tree.
Yeah, like.
Oh my god, I wasn't expecting it.
Alright, bye Malaika. We love you.
Okay, so not serious at all, but would you ever get a tattoo?
I have to get bigger though.
I'm sorry?
I have to get bigger. I get big body.
Oh
And then
yeah.
I'll get
I
it.
mean, you don't have to.
I would get it like here. Around here. I don't know what
I
it
mean,
is.
yeah, most rappers have it. And they're not big body at all.
But that's how that'll look.
What would you get though if it's not like too personal?
I don't really know yet.
Really?
I have no idea.
For me, okay, so I just turned 18, right? So now I could like finally get tags like legally.
Your parents let you?
That's another thing.
Yeah, my parents will let me. They already said the piercings are enough. Like,
Yeah,
they
no, my
already
mom-
said the piercings.
I know. So I first had the one piercing. My mom was fine with it, and then I just ended up getting the second one. My mother's like, "What is that?" And then I was like, like it's a piercing. But like I was thinking about getting like just a big Durga mat, just like tatted on my shoulder.
Oh,
but
just to get them like, okay.
yeah, it's like they'll see a religious symbol. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
it's okay. We'll see what happens." Anyways, let's. We went on a tangent.
You're so good.
So, what are some struggles that you faced in this transition?
So it wasn't easy. Like first, it took like a while to actually like fully commit to the idea and like actually like conduct the dropping out of the program. So I had to email the advisor to get the transition, get the credits approved and everything. So that took a month long because I had to like keep talking. I had to talk to Rutgers. I had to talk to MIT to get like the transfer credits evaluated and like placed and everything, just so I can graduate within the 3 years. And then they put me in like this weird little limbo stage where I was like out of the program, but since I was like enrolled for that fall semester, like with all the BSTO classes, so I started to take all the BSTO classes with like my old classmates as a non-BSTO. So that was interesting. I was in like this weird little like limbo, but it was pretty cool. Like at that point, I was like, hey, like I wasn't like pursuing like medical school, so it's like it gave me like a different perspective on like the whole program. But another thing that was probably like, you gotta explain to people like, hey, what's your major? Biology major. Oh, what you wanna do? Law. They're like, huh? They get thrown off. So you have to explain to them like, what happened.
Just keep it in, bro.
Yeah.
Just keep it.
So yeah, so it's like you had to explain to people like, hey, like this is what happened, like oh, so like that's a conversation you have to have like every like once in a while with people. So that's probably the biggest thing to get through. But other than that, it's pretty calm. I had to also restructure my entire resume. It was fully based on medicine before, but now I had to restructure to go into law, and I had to look for other opportunities, stuff to like correlate with that, and I have to combine it with like relating to my major, so it like seems like a seamless pathway. So I had to do all that stuff. But like thankfully, like during COVID, it was during the summer, like I had a lot of time to figure it out, so it like worked out. Like I made sure like I had the time and everything to figure out. So the time I did it and the time everything happened just worked out.
So when you switched from BSTO to biology and you shared your major with people, do you feel like there was a sense of judgment?
I mean, I don't know. There definitely probably was. People were probably like, "Why'd you drop out?" And like, you had a high GPA. There's nothing like, were you scared of the MCAT or like what was going on? A lot of people were definitely wondering, but I just explained to them like, "Hey, like this is now what I do." But a lot of people were just like, "Oh, that's like great to hear." Like a lot of people were actually like genuinely like really pleased to hear them like, "Oh, like you found your things." A lot of my friends actually told you looked a lot more happier after you dropped out. So I guess that's a good sign that you're doing something right. So honestly, it wasn't bad. People just like, it is what it is. Like once you make it out, like you'll see like how it is, like how people turn out. It's not really fair to really judge people based on whatever like solo setbacks and stuff like that.
So yeah, I mean, like, how do you think like being Indian or like having like Indian parents like really like, or like even just being in an Indian society really like caused a lot of like maybe strife you felt during this moment?
Yeah, I mean, like, even, like, to begin, like, one of the, like, you have to obviously have a prestigious job, like, going in, like, even, like, from, like, 8th grade, like, I decided medicine because, like, that's prestigious enough for my family, it's secure enough in the pathway, you make a lot of money, you help people, it's, like, so many things that are good, like, so I was like, hey, this is good, that's what you want to do, like, if it was up to me, honestly, I would have just became a soccer player, and just, like, moved to England and do my thing, but that's not what I could have done, my parents would obviously not support that, but there's definitely like only like a select number of jobs that Indian parents would technically support. My parents personally wanted me to become an engineer, but I hate math with a passion, so I would never go that route. So it's really like either like engineer, lawyer, like doctor, like stuff like that. They don't really see like business or like politics and stuff like that like as like a true like career path for them. But I think it's like gonna switch, especially like in our generation and stuff. A lot of people are doing a very different thing and are successful with it. So it's definitely changing. It's just like the tradition of like immigrant parents and stuff like that for sure. Definitely has an impact.
How has the switch impacted you and your family financially?
Financially, it's honestly not that bad. If anything, it actually saved money. Like no more medical school costs. Like $250,000, $250,000 debt. Not much. Like I said before, like 3 years, I didn't have to extend any studies. Like thankfully for law school, you could apply with any major, so I didn't have to change my degree and restart my entire track. That was also another reason why I decided like, hey, maybe I should do it because there's not really any setback in that way. But though, I would still have to go to law school. That's like 3 years of graduate school. You know how expensive that stuff is. So that's probably the only difference. But I would be out working earlier, making it. So I don't think it's a financially setback wise.
That's really good to hear. Another question that we had was, Do you feel like growing up in the South Asian culture impacted the way that you saw your own mental health? Or when you were going through this transition and you said that you were happier after you came out of it, did you disregard your mental health beforehand because it wasn't that
Yeah,
important?
100%, because you're just like, hey, like, this is what you signed up for, like, this is what you did, like, you guys just stick to it. Like, you just tell yourself, like, oh, what would your parents say? Like, even if it's not forced upon you, these are just thoughts that you have, like, especially, like, at the point in your life where you're, like, still trying to figure things out and, like, trying to see where you are. Like, it definitely has a toll, like, what would other people think? Like, a lot of these stuff you do, like, initially care about, but once you, like, realize you have, like, people to rely on and, like, hey, it's actually not so bad, like, then it definitely alleviates the stress on your mental health. But I think it should definitely be talked about more, like, the mental health aspect of, like, switching or, like, figuring things out. Because I know a lot of people that have, like, switched out, like, figuring things out. Like, a couple of my brothers have done that too. But overall, it's pretty helpful now, like, figuring it out. Like, it alleviates the stress. Definitely feel less stressful after all this.
Do you think there's anything that you were lacking of or anything that you needed during this transition, whether it's like support from people or like resources?
I mean, a lot of the things I figured out myself. Maybe if I had like an older mentor within the field, it would have been nice. Everybody I know is like going to med school, like stuff like that. So I didn't really have many older people to like rely on or like, hey, like this is what I'm switching into law. Like I don't really have that anymore. Like the old security of that is gone. So if I had like an older mentor, like, hey, like this is what law school is, this is what you're gonna learn, like this is what you're gonna do when you get out of the field, like it would have been way easier because I just talked to people over the phone that are currently in law schools. I didn't really have anybody that I knew throughout the process or anything. So it's probably the only thing. But I think I figured it out mostly by myself.
Yeah.
Is there a big stigma with being a bio major and going into the law field?
I don't really think there's much of a stigma at all. If anything, I think it's like looked up upon because it's like different. It's like it gives a different perspective, as I mentioned. So law schools actually want like different majors. Like usually their majors are like poli-sci, like English and stuff like that. So somebody coming from STEM, they have like a different perspective. They have a more rigorous course load, so they know that you can put in the work and stuff like that. So if anything, I think it like stands out. It like helps you out. It gives you a different perspective, and like law schools want those kind of students in it. So it definitely like gives you a boost. You're just like a non-traditional applicant for them.
Wait, are we invited to your graduation?
What, the commencement? Like this?
Yeah,
this
like,
year? Yeah.
did you get us tickets?
I don't even know where to buy tickets.
Oh.
I don't even know anything.
That awkward.
Yeah, I don't even know where to buy tickets. But yeah, pull up. 100%. There's mad people graduating this year. Graduating like 10 of my brothers. Like so many people graduating. So I'm happy I got to graduate, walk in person too.
Yeah.
Not on COVID. So
Not on Zoom.
not on Zoom for sure. So it's definitely good.
So like, do you think you see any similarities between medicine and law right now?
I mean, there's a lot of similarities. You're still helping people. Still a lot of reading. You still have to work collab with everybody. It's very similar. It's just like it's I guess more focused on like case studies and like how like the old laws affect like how you can work with new cases and stuff. Like you use the logic and stuff of old cases and old indictments and stuff like that to like for the future cases and stuff. But medicine, it's more like, hey, like you're reading a textbook, you use that principle, you try to apply it to whatever the patient is and stuff like that. So it's pretty similar, just like it's not as science concentrated, it's more overall like wider based, depending on what specialty you
But like I would think that like not necessarily medicine, but like maybe research is a lot more similar to to law because like sometimes like if we look back in time like there were things that like maybe like 100 years ago like people used to think that like blood and plasma was like one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like and we thought this was true for a long time, and we used that and like to come up with like 10 new like scientific studies, and then we realized no, these are completely different things, and we had to go back and like change it. In the same way, like I would also say once upon a time in this country, like maybe like having slaves was legal, right? And then we realized no, this is messed up. We can't do this in America, and we had to go back and change everything. Like wouldn't you say that there's necessarily a theme of, or like I wouldn't even say a theme, but like there's a pattern of invention that could completely change everything, right? So like if we have this new medical thing, like it could completely break the grounds of everything we have. In the same way, like if we were to pass a new law that really changes a new problem, it could completely change the way we see things, or like our ethics or the way we raise our kids maybe.
Yeah, like especially like even if you think about like just like the digital age, like early like this century, like that boomed an entire like different, like nobody knew how to handle like how is the internet stuff going to be tracked, like how is that's your intellectual property. That's like a whole field that developed because of like the digital age and stuff like that. So obviously when new innovations come, like we would have to relook at old laws, see if you need to innovate them or change them. And then obviously like even like electric cars and stuff like that, you got to see like how would we dispose of them and stuff like that. Like laws will be changed depending on how like the world is going and how the news is. That's also something you have to like be pretty up to date on what's going on in the world and stuff like that. Otherwise you're pretty left out of the loop and like you won't understand like what's going on and why things are changing the way it does. So it's very similar. You always have to be kept up to date in medicine too. So it's not really much different in my opinion. You would definitely have to like adapt to what is happening in the world at the time.
Yeah, bouncing off of Pars's question. Sorry, did you want to?
No, you're good.
Bouncing off his question, is there something like that's being practiced in law right now that you completely disagree with?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm seeing like in my internship that's like a constant theme that's been seeing, like a lot of these cases that have been like wrongfully convicted sort of sense is because their trial lawyers just don't care because they have so many cases to work on and stuff like that. And like obviously by like the Constitution where you're given the right to a lawyer, but that doesn't mean that lawyer is either competent or fully caring about your case. Yeah. So a lot of the times they're like very like not even focusing on your case. They don't, like that's a person. Like to every single person is a person. They could be in jail for like years to come, and if their lawyer doesn't put in the 100% effort for that person, they won't get the rightful like result that they're supposed to get. So a lot of the times these lawyers have like 10 plus cases that they have to work on. So a lot of times they just like pay attention to the ones that they feel is more important, and a lot of them are like left behind and have to go to jail and stuff like that. So that's something I feel that we would have to change, because it says that like everybody has a fair trial and everything, but if these are the situations that are happening, it's not really fair for both the prosecution and for them.
Okay, so do you think that's a reflection of poor public defense lawyers, or do you think that that's a reflection of a loss of a connection between a lawyer and their client? Because like I would say that one of the biggest reasons I went to medicine was because I actually interned somewhere, and we worked with a lot of like addiction patients, and I saw how I felt like especially like some of these things with like heartbreak was like an understatement for some of the things I felt like, because these weren't like, you know, and like when you picture an addict, it wasn't like these are single mothers working 3 jobs that, you know, that have a fentanyl problem or have an opioid problem that would come in, and I would just feel like doctors weren't doing a great job connecting with them and just maybe writing prescriptions and putting them away, and maybe looking at them as more as, you know, checkbooks than maybe real people. Do you think that something like that has happened in law, where lawyers have like lost the connection with the people they've been working for?
I mean, yeah, that could definitely be true in a sense, but like once you like see it, like that's easy to say now, it's like, hey, maybe he didn't care enough about the patient, but like once you like really like see it, like honestly, like for like lawyer side, like you have to reach thousands of pages of documents, get witnesses. There's a lot of things to do just for one case. So it is really hard. I think it's like more of a systemic problem within like just within our
like public defense.
Yeah, because like there's no way like a lawyer can do like a trial lawyer especially can do like multiple cases within like a week or 2 span. Like obviously some are going to be left on the back burner. So that's something that like our whole like entire like justice system has to like kind of reform, or we had to just get more lawyers within the system. It's within that field, at least for that example. Like, but it's probably like both like equally contribute. There's definitely like people that don't give as much attention to their clients, but I think it's more of a wider issue than that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the government gives a certain amount of funding in order for these like different subsets of attorneys to work for their clients, and they have to work for X amount of clients with the same amount of pay, and the government's not going to really increase it too. So it's just an oversaturation of.
And they hurt the poorest people, right? They hurt the people who can't afford a private lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Because those are the people that would need the lawyer given by the government, and they're the ones that are going to be struggling. Like, because the area that I work in is like the Bronx area, so it's not the most affluent area. So like you can see like these people are getting like shunted out or like shut out because they're not getting the proper. Like you can see in their letters, a lot of them say like, I couldn't hire like a proper attorney. Like they gave me, so like they even know, like even the people that are put in jail, like they even see the issues. So that's like a pretty shocking thing to really see like within the system.
So would you say this internship solidified that you want to go into law and you want to help?
Yeah, I definitely want to go into law. Definitely still open to what side of law. Like I definitely would see myself doing something maybe in like healthcare, intellectual property, something like that. Like something that is like different and like can use like whatever I have in my background. Like I still want to use my degree in the future. Like I just want to use it in the way that can help with law.
In terms of the fact that you're graduating, you know, in your third year, so this year, do you have any like post undergrad plans already like planned out, or?
And don't say a trip to Spain or anything.
I wish I could.
A trip to Vegas or.
I mean, definitely gotta travel. I mean, like if I went through the program and got everything done, I would have just started med school this August. This would have been just that. But I definitely I still have to take my LSATs, so it's like the law version of like the MCATs and stuff like to get into grad school. So I still have to study for that. I'm planning on taking it hopefully end of summer for now. So if I do that, then I would have to apply around like October, November, and then start the following cycle, which would be in like the summer 23. So that's when I'll like realistically start. So within that like 6 month space, I would definitely just work, do whatever I want, like just enjoy myself, enjoy life, and yeah, go into the next chapter.
Are there any passions or hobbies that you're going to be working on during this time period too?
I gotta see. I definitely want to travel. Like I definitely traveling is one of the things.
And there's things you can't see on camera right now.
Yeah. That can be in the
As long as
deleted
it's one
scenes. Yeah, I definitely want to travel. I just want to like just enjoy the times. I definitely want to spend more time with my family, friends, and stuff like that, because like definitely just focused on school most of the time. I'm gonna be done with all my undergraduate activities. Maybe like even like just look into new things to do. I haven't really been able to like even try new hobbies or anything just because of how like saturated my like life and schedule is. So definitely room to explore. Very open to that type of stuff.
So, like I know you said something about how like brown culture will change as we grow up and we flourish here and we have our own families and we're tied to each other. Like, how do you think that? Well, I mean, obviously, like I think everyone here has grown up in some sort of like an ethnic household. How do you think things are going to change? Well, like maybe 10, 15 years when we have kids and we're all, and we're suddenly the brown dads that
say
too loud and like
tell their children to come home by 10, have their location.
Well, how do you think things are going to change when we're?
Yeah, I think definitely like especially in the age of like social media that we grew up in, we're very exposed to a lot of like the negatives of the world, like all these situations and stuff. I think we're more empathetic to other people's situations than like maybe let's say our parents, like not in like a bad way, but they only really care about, hey, well, this is what's happening within our family. Like they don't really like see it from like, hey, like this is what's happening with other people and stuff like that. So I think we'll definitely be more empathetic, like especially mental health, like one of the things like a lot of black people don't even believe that's like a real thing. So we'll definitely like, hey, like treat mental health, like if their kids are going through it, I think we'll be more receptive. But there will definitely like 10, 15 years, like people would have their own new challenges that we would have to adapt to. But I think we're definitely a generation that is more adaptable and understanding of other people's struggles and stuff like that. So I think that's a good thing.
Because like I would say even like things like LGBTQ issues, like like maybe I'd be like much more open to something like that, speaking to something about that than like maybe my parents or my grandparents.
I mean, that goes, that's just the growth of people. Like even some things maybe we find uncomfortable now will be very open
to our kids,
within like our kids. So that's just a constant change that will always happen through generations.
But the Diwali party's gonna stay lit though.
The Diwali party,
it's gonna stay lit.
If there was, just to conclude, if there was one thing you could tell yourself in this transition, or people who are in the same boat as you, who don't feel as though they belong in the field they're in, what would you say?
I would definitely say before you take the step out of what you're planning on doing, you definitely should have a plan of what your next step is before you do it.
Yeah.
Because if you just jump out and have nothing to go on, it's gonna be really tricky for you to like settle and like figure it out. Like before I even like fully committed to the idea and everything, I like did my research, like, hey, if I do this, this will happen. This is how much I won't lose a year, and I won't be spending extra money for other things and stuff like that. Like tuition will be saved. Like you got to like consider all the factors like of what's going on before you actually do it. So then you have like a clear plan that you can follow through. And I also would just say like everything will work out. Like if you had to end up switching, like it'll work out. And like that, like you just have to trust in yourself mostly, and then everything will just work out. That's what I really believe in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was wonderful getting to know you and your
No problem.
experience.
Thank you guys for having
And
me.
your transition from medicine to law, and just the fact that you did what you wanted to and you followed your heart, and like you said, you did what made you happy at the end.
Yeah.
After this transition, you were happy. So I hope that whoever's listening is encouraged by your story and they do the same.
Yep. No, definitely thank you guys for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on my story.
Sure.
It would have been a lot better if it was me and Malika interviewing you, but
Maybe.
like, yeah.
I appreciated the Bodhi tree question. It was very interesting. What tree?
Hey, thank you for joining us today, and the entire family, we signed a little card for you.
Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate you guys. Thank you guys.
It's in my handwriting, so like good luck reading it.
I'll read it later. I'll read it later. Thank you guys.
Well,
Alright.
thank you so much for
That's
joining
a wrap.
us. Okay. Signing off from the Switch Up. Thank you so much, Shravan, for coming. We love you. Thank you. Signing off from Zero to Infinity.